normally go?
I usually go like 20 to 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like hours or something like
Oh
that.
no, dude. You know what? If we
Not,
get rolling,
I
it's
don't.
not like I cut you off or something. If we're in the zone, we're in the zone. But I think the longest one I did was like 50 minutes.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't think I'm that interesting, anyways. But like 5-6 minutes is probably fine.
That's it. Sorry, man. I didn't get that memo. I've got at least 9 minutes of material. I just can't even freaking do this intro now. It's gonna be an interesting one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RokTok. I am your host, the JD Richard, and today, hopefully I'm pointing the right way. I can never remember. I've got a very special guest, the Colin Luby, frontman extraordinaire of the Sirius Festival, here to talk rock and roll. Applause all around. It's just me. I'll add sound effects, or maybe I'll just leave it as me.
I shouldn't raise my arms.
No, always raise your arms. Do you, man? Celebrate.
Yeah, man.
So
good to be here.
I try to start these off with a little bit of backstory, because when I do know the person, I like to throw it out there. So we've been talking about doing this for a while, and apparently we both suffer from a certain state of procrastination and or just missing each other at various points.
We just use the classic excuse that everybody, I'm too busy.
It's 100%. As you pointed out earlier, those 6 or 7 minutes, we couldn't fit it in.
I can't find the time.
But the folks I tried to talk to, there's going to be a lot of giggle on this. It's going to be a lot of giggle. I'm trying to fight for the serious. No, we don't do that on RokTok.
No.
So I try to have folks on here, local Southwestern talent, Ontario talent, Canadian talent, and talk a little bit about you guys, but also just your process, because I don't think there's a lot of avenues out there for songwriters, creative folks getting in to kind of touch base with some of this stuff from local folks anyway. So start things off for you. Talk a little bit about how'd you get on this, man? How'd you get into music?
Well, I've been doing it for a long time. Like I've been playing music for over 20 years now. Playing guitar. But I listened to music obviously since I was like a little kid. Like my dad's a drummer. My brother's a drummer. He's older than me. So like, that was just ingrained in us from a pretty early age, so my parents bought me a guitar when I was 10, and because my brother's already a drummer, so there had to be a guitar player, and we just we jammed from there. And then I took lessons for a long time, and from Tom Lockwood in Chatham, and he's like a local legend there, and more than a local legend, but he's the man. So learned a lot of stuff from him, and started playing in high school too, and with some peeps, and just went from there. Like just kind of branched out off after high school, and did like a bunch of stuff with open mics with like Julie Ross and that whole gang, and that's how I kind of started to really write a lot of music, was like just obviously with her influence and all the craziness that goes on at the Tuesday night open mics at the Nest, like just there's so much talent that roll through there, so everybody like try to be better than the next guy, or at least try to be as good as the next guy. So like I got to the point where like that was when I was like 18 or whatever, 19, and like I was trying to be as creative as possible, right? So like I would literally go to the open mics with just like a guitar riff, and I would almost like slam poetry or something. I would like literally play it like for the first time there, and I would like work out lyrics and stuff, and figure it out from there. And it always didn't always have good results, but I kind of I was able to like kind of hone my own style though for a long time. And like I had the band in high school, but I didn't really have like a full band or anything again until like more recently. Like I played with drummers here and there, but like for the most part I did a lot of solo stuff for like a long time, like 5-6 years at least, and just learned how to play like a totally different style of guitar playing, because I was playing the bass parts and playing the guitar parts and singing, and like learned how to sing, and through all that too, and playing the rhythm section too, because they really didn't have that very much, besides people that would randomly jump up there and open mics and stuff, right?
Beatboxing in the background. Oh, I remember. I might have been that guy a couple of times. I'm just saying.
You probably were, yeah. But yeah, like but I like at first, like I think I kind of like regretted not having a band that whole time, because it was like there's that weird jealousy when you're a kid, or like I don't know, just me maybe, of like all these people and having fun times with bands and stuff like that, and I was like, I want a band too, shit. But like, I don't know, just awkward me not being able to like get past my own self probably for a long time.
So,
and
we touched on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm so happy and like satisfied with what we have now as a band, as a tight like group of four individuals that are like all very very talented, plus me, See,
they're gonna have that on their personal webpage, right? It'll just be that endorsement of their ability right there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so good to finally hear it all come together, and yeah, the last two, like 5 or 6 years of just playing with these guys and like honing it even more has been awesome. So it's been a whole little like journey, like you said, and like it's weird to look back on right now, even though like I feel like this grizzled veteran, even though like I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not like 70 years old or 80 years old, like sitting here and telling the story about the Titanic or whatever. But like I feel like that sometimes when I think back of it. I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff I went through to kind of get to this point of like writing and performing and everything, right? But it's cool, and it's very satisfying. It's never been more satisfying at this point.
So, all right, you know what? There's a few things there I want to get to, because I want to get to the band. I want to get to this whole new creative adventure you're on right now. I want to slide back a little bit though, because this is stuff like I genuinely get curious about with people. Is you get the guitar at 10 and you're fumbling around. Maybe it was just magic right off the bat. Maybe you had a neighbor that played keyboard. I don't know. But like, at what point do you kind of realize that this is something you want to put all that energy into? Because obviously you got a musical family, it's around. Did you know you were going to invest as much as you did, or was there a moment that you can remember, like, yeah, this is where I want to put my time and effort?
Probably more so in high school, when I was in high school, because like I don't know, I bounced back and forth between a lot of different creative things when I was a kid. Like I wanted to be like a car designer back in the day. Like I was really into cars, really into music. So like you know they both kind of shared a lot of the same headspace, like equally for a long time, and still kind of do. But like yeah, I mean the learning an instrument at any age is usually slow going for 99% of people, right? Like it doesn't, not a lot of people learn it overnight. And yeah, and like so many people, I have friends now too that are trying to learn when they're in their 30s, or props to them for trying to figure that out, as they get older. But like it's it's a lot of time it's slow going, it's frustrating, and it was for me too. I took lessons for 6 years, and it wasn't it was frustrating a lot of the time, especially for the first few years, like to try and guitar is a weird one to learn as a kid. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense, you know what I mean? It looks real easy and does, but like there's a lot of stuff to wrap your head around there. And like I'm by no means like classically trained, or like I don't know a ton really about music theory or any of that stuff. I forgot all that stuff a long time ago. But yeah, it just, I don't know. When I was in high school though, like I kind of had like, I feel like I had like a couple different paths to go, and I played like football in grade 9, and like, was trying to go into a few different areas. My brother was doing the same thing, and I started meeting guys though that were musicians too, and like that people that wanted to play together. And then like I saw how good it felt to like play in a band with other people. And I think grade 10 or something like that rolled around, and I just had to tell my coach like, I'm not going to be on the team this year. I'm going to be in, I'm going to have the band. And yeah, I remember how disappointed he looked, but
In my
you're
brain,
throwing your life away.
in my brain, I see you like ripping your track pants off and you just have torn jeans underneath and you're like, I'm going to rock. The coach is just crying, like he could have been something right behind you. You know, go to the creative, like the writing side. Do you remember, because I'm always curious, because I mean, obviously I write, I dabble in the written word, and I'm curious, like, do you remember what the
I've
first
heard.
yeah, occasionally, right? Only horrible things. But do you remember the first song you wrote? Like, is it imprinted in your brain, like pieces of it still, like all these years later?
Not quite. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't find I have that like kind of picture perfect memory for a lot of things like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people I hear, like, as much as I love music and I love playing guitar and all these things, like I hear people talk about like, oh, my first record was this and this, that. I have no clue. I do not remember all that stuff. It doesn't stick with me as much, you know? And I don't know what it is. Maybe but like I've forgotten a lot of those things. But like, I kept a lot of stuff too. But like the writing's changed so much over the years. Like whatever the heck I was doing in high school, there's probably some lyrics somewhere, you know, in a book. Like I did keep a lot of that stuff, but as far as like how to play any of it or any of that stuff, I don't know. Like I'm more like in the last 10 years or so have really held on to all that stuff and tried to like
Yeah.
catalog that stuff a little bit more. But the early stuff, I don't know, man. Like I don't know if I could even pull it up anymore or like figure it out.
Well,
But
I definitely feel like a challenge for the next RokTok. We're gonna have to dig something out and just horribly embarrassing video live playthrough to follow.
yeah, definitely.
This leads me actually pretty conveniently, so well done, unintentional or otherwise, but it leads me really in another question I'm always curious about. When you look back on the stuff you've created, like I know from talking to you personally off camera and, you know, being friends, that the passion and the energy you have for the stuff you're creating now is like palpable. Like it's a real thing, you know? And I'm wondering, when you look back at the stuff you've created, do you still have like a love and appreciation for it? Or is it already kind of like that kid you sent off to college and you got to focus on the new kids? You know what I mean? Like, is it kind of like a detachment, or is there still a real connection to that stuff that's come before?
There's definitely still a I think all of it's palpable for me. Like I'm pretty excited about all of it. Sometimes I go in spurts, like almost like with any music that I'm listening to too. Like I just, you know, you go in kind of little spurts of what you're really into for a little while. At least I do, and then and I'll play it until it doesn't make sense anymore, and then play something else. You know, and the older stuff is the same way for me. Like we'll revisit a lot of stuff, and then be so obsessed with the new stuff, and then go back and revisit old stuff and try to work. I try to work all of it in as much as possible, but yeah, I just kind of go in spurts or whatever. But I see it all on like a similar level right now, and I try real hard not to like look back like and be with like rose colored glasses and be like, that was so much better, you know. It like I'm in love with all of it, you know, and I'm really in love with like the progress that a lot of stuff makes, like going like especially in the live aspect of things, and especially because like the band side of things is definitely newer, right? It like in the last 5 years or so for me, but I've been writing for like 10. So it's fun to kind of bring these newer musicians into the fold and be like, what does it sound like when we play this like together, you know? And all the songs just keep progressing, you know, and like in my opinion get better as they go, you know. Even in like the short period of time that I've been playing with Pat and these guys, um, like going from my first record to the new stuff that we're working on, the songs have changed like so much. Like structurally they're same thing really, and the, you know, lyrics don't change any of that stuff, but the feel of everything changes so much. And it just it's so interesting to see how that goes, and to also think of like how it's gonna go, you know, moving forward. Like it's crazy to me to think of. And like relatively, we haven't played together for very long, but we're able to keep changing and shaping things like that. And just like, you don't want it to end, you're just like, where is it going to go from here? What else are we going to like work into? It's great to have multiple creative layers or like minds kind of coming together on stuff, and just changing things as you know what I mean. It's really cool.
So do you find it's hard?
Yeah,
I know exactly I shouldn't say exactly, because you guys are creating music you guys are creating music on a really high level. I mean, I've gotten privileged to listen to some of it. I thought it was awesome. I'm excited for what's coming. But do you find, yeah, what's true? Nothing but truth on RokTok, bro. Do you find that
we'll fact check you later?
Yeah, 100%. Somebody's right now in the comments like, actually, you suck.
Actually, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, anyway, I'll get too distracted here, but I'm curious, do you find that it's kind of hard to turn the faucet off? Like, because when you're working with other people and there's that flow happening and that synchronicity, and you can feel something that you brought in just becoming this better, more beautiful, more coherent, cohesive creation, is it hard to be like, all right, you know what, 10 out of 10, that's it, it was hour 17, it's perfect now? Or like, do you find that it's just something that you have to just put one part of it in a box and just realize that, like, that song's always going to have things that might happen to it, but you can package this up to present that type deal?
Yeah, like whether or not you like kind of hold on to certain aspects of it, like,
yeah,
they're not going to change. Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, probably more so than the other guys, because it's, at the end of the day, was and is my project, and saying that sounds shitty to me, but like, because I still see it as a band.
yeah,
you know what I mean? But I feel like sometimes everybody else is like, we're helping Colin with this thing, you know what I mean? But I'm just like, no, this is a project thing for everybody. Like, you guys are all equally involved with this, but definitely, like, majority of like the digging and the main songwriting is definitely coming from my head. Like, riffs and lyrics and all that stuff is still coming from me. So definitely that stuff I'm holding on to more than anything. But I've always come to it with like a very open mind with regards to what the other musicians are doing. I'm definitely not the guy that's like, the drum does this the entire song, and then you do it this part and this, and then the bass, I already wrote it out for you here, play this. Like, I don't do that at all. I write, I write the guitar and the lyrics as organically as possible, and then we bring it into the space and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking, what do you guys think? And I have more than enough respect for everybody else in the room to be like, play what you think here. And there's a mutual respect there too, where they're like, okay, this is your thing, how about I play this, and then we'll stop and say, how does that sound, and just kind of work it out back and forth. It's never a one-sided thing, so having said that, I'm never like totally sold on what somebody's doing. They like, not totally sold, but I'm never just like, you can't change that, you did it good already. I'll have parts or little tiny things, usually tiny things like, that fill was sweet, keep that fill, but like the rest of it, do what you want. And a lot of the time too, when we play it live, unless it's some catastrophic change, you don't even really notice.
yeah.
Like, you're so, like, for me anyways, you get so into the feel of everything live, and emotions of it, or just the rush of everything, the energy or the adrenaline, that kind of thing, that he could be playing again 10 BPM faster, and probably is, we probably all are, or changing up the fill here and there. But like, I'm not obsessing over it, you know what I mean? I don't think about it. Probably have to watch video back later to be like, oh, that was slightly different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just all feels kind of the same, as long as we hit those main points and we're like, yeah, that was good.
And that's the thing, right? It's hard for a lot of people to realize that, man, most people, they don't know the song like the song. So like, they're into it, they're feeling it. They're not going to notice if you guys played something faster, added a little something onto this in the moment. Like, that's you guys, right? It's your world. They're just there to participate and enjoy it. They're not as familiar with it, right?
Yeah, it's almost a bit more exciting on this like small scale of things where like where I would consider us to be, where like people don't know the songs really, you know what I mean? Like they're not played all day on the radio, and they're not hammered into your brain. So like you said, they are kind of usually experiencing them for the first time, or from some muddy memory of another show we played it at or something like that. So, you know, we do have that kind of creative space to stretch things out a little bit, or to change things up, you know. And no one's ever said a bad thing about it, really. No one's ever been upset about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we play a song off the first record called 401.
One of my favorites.
Thank you.
Techno beats and modern music in my eardrum, and even with all this blood and carnage, I just couldn't escape. I'm surrounded by these fields, Ontario plates.
Especially the songs that I really that one, that one's just special to me, and it always will be. But like you said, you get kind of obsessed with certain parts of the song. You're like, I got to do that part of the song. Or even when in the moment you're like, I can't wait for this part to come up because I love playing this part or whatever. But last year we started just screwing around, and we're like, well, what if we started playing some more cover songs? And as you probably know, like, we don't play a lot of cover songs, but we will throw a hip tune or two in there. And we were both kind of obsessed, for whatever reason, obsessed with the song Cordelia. And I had never played it before, really, but we were just like, let's learn the Cordelia, let's play that. And then we just started working it in and into the set list. And then we were like, I don't know what happened, but at some point it just became one song with 401. And it is nothing like 401. It doesn't really like the chords are kind of similar. There's one there's a G chord in both of them, so it's like, oh, I can kind of go into the other one, but like the timing's totally different. Everything's different. But like I think we just did it one time in like a practice, and like halfway through 401 just went into Cordelia, like kind of stopped and went into it, and I was like, that was cool. Let's do that more. And so yeah, in the last like few shows, we played this little medley of like for Odelia, I like to call it. And but it's funny, it's one of those things like you're talking about, like where it's moved along to that point now. Like I never thought I would do that because I was so obsessed with that with 401. Like that was a lot of times I'd end a show with that song or whatever, if it was like impactful for me and fun to play. And I never thought like, oh, I'm going to cut the whole half of the song out and stick a cover song in there. You know what I mean? That was like, I never thought that would happen, So, and we're having fun with that. And like, we'll still go back and forth with that, now and with whatever else we figure out, it's funny to come into it now and be like, covers are new for us now because we've been so dead set on just not playing any cover songs at all. But I think at this point it's like good for us, and it's good for anybody to play. But I was so like dead set with like not doing it for a long time and just focusing on writing material, original material. But now it's fun to actually kind of bring into the fold a little bit and change it up a little bit, and we're not playing like Sweet Child of Mine or like Sweet Caroline or anything like that, or any of the sweets. We're we're just playing stuff that we like, you know, which is, it's just fun all around. And like, if people know it, they know it. If they don't know it, whatever, you know. But like, we try to at least play it well, you know. And yeah, it's like I said, it's just it's fun to see where it's gonna go and where it goes like that, and there's funny ups and downs, and like, yeah, it's really cool.
So I want to take a minute. First of all, I'm going to drop a graphic here so that people know to go check out Serious Festival, the first full album released, Always Okay. I've listened to it a few times before this chat because I didn't want to come on here and not listen to your crap. I was like, no, I want to freshen my brain a little while. And you know what? I got to say that I'm sure, like you said, there's things you look back, but front to back, man, that is just, I think it's a damn fine rock album. And there is some really good, I mean, 401 obviously is a standout. There's no way around it, but there's some like great parts throughout that album. And talking about the creative process, applause, right? We'll have some sound effects in there.
Yeah.
I can't afford the sound effects.
I hope there's a lot of sound effects.
All of them, just all the time. But talk about your, like, the creative process, because you mentioned you've been writing now for a long time. And I mean, that first album is primarily like, I remember you were working with somebody for a few tracks in there, but it was primarily you, right? Like most of that top to bottom was your kind of structure and your kind of approach to writing. How has that process changed? Because in listening to the first single off the new album, which we will preview in here, I'll probably throw it in at the end, so people can check that out. New album on the way, which we're going to talk about shortly. I'm excited for it. And you've touched base on it a little bit. But how has your writing changed? Is it something that like you've consciously kind of evolved to be like, now there's these other parties that are part of this? Because that first album felt extremely personal. And I'm curious if like the new album has that same vibe, or has something else come out?
Yeah, I mean, the first album is definitely way more personal. And like I said, majority of the writing was done by myself in a room by myself. Putting the whole project together definitely was not a single, one person thing. I'm not, I'm not that talented to do all the production side of things and all the stuff that, Luke Michaud produced that whole thing. And he helped me out with a lot of the background stuff, the drums, the bass, stuff that I just wasn't capable of doing. He put a lot of that stuff together. So I really can't take, all the credit for putting that project together, or what the CD sounds like, but yeah, and also, before that even too, Alex Hill too was my drummer for a little while when I was still in Chatham, and we hashed out a few of the main ideas to that record beforehand too. Not with the idea of it being a record, but just with being a band,
flushing those ideas out.
Yeah. So like I said, definitely can't take all the credit for that, but yeah, but the lyrics and all that stuff, yeah, it's incredibly personal, and it's angsty 20 something dude that just trying to figure out shit, and yeah, there's a huge range of stuff on that record, even though I think a lot of it's always had like kind of a bit of a darker sound with a lot of energy, but like there's still a lot of positive vibes in that, and the songs, and that might not come across right away, but there's still a lot of positive vibes on that record too. But yeah, how it's changed though, like from that to the new one is definitely way more of collaboration, again with a great producer, Brett Humber, of Sound Foundry, like just incredibly talented, and he's made us sound more polished, but not overly so that it just you know what I mean. We had that conversation pretty early on about like we want good production, but like we want it to sound like the band live, and that was majority of the reason why I chose him in his studio. Like, not to mention the fact that we just got along really well, and we like a lot of the same music and stuff. That was the icing on the cake, but like He's really good at recording people live off the floor and getting that live feeling and stuff, and but also adding, like, sprinkling those little touches in there too, the production value that, like, makes it just sound like, I mean, he's worked with the Bluestones and like countless other, amazing bands from the area. That, I mean, the Bluestones and the stuff that they did with him is just up for a Juno, I think, recently. So, like,
No.
it's no small
So
small
foreshadowing,
thing. And
what you're saying, foreshadowing.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about Brett, but like, but the band itself though too, like, I've worked with Pat for like 5 years now, Pat Power, and like the drummer, and we've become really good friends over the years, and we've hashed out all these new ideas too, and yeah, like it's been a way more of a collaborative affair with other musicians this time, and we had a lot more of the songs structurally like hashed out before we went in to the studio. The other guys in the band, Jeremy and Ryan, came in a little bit later in the project to play bass and keys, but they're still all over the project. They're still a huge part of it, but it's definitely got a more dynamic feel to everything on this record, because even from the get-go, like, I'm not going to sit here and say the entire record is live completely, but the basic structures of every song is. We still did drums and guitar off the floor, both of us in the same room with headphones on, and got all the main stuff down, and then we added stuff in afterwards to make it just sound a little bit better, vocals and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that just really resulted in this like really dynamic feel, and it feels way more like the live show is, and it's just more exciting to listen to, I think, and it's funner, even though there's like a still a very dark side to a lot of the record. It's a good mix, just like the name says, Serious Festival. Like, it's a good mix of, like, there's this real heavy side to it, and there's a real bright side to it. And some, maybe the bright side's a little bit more hidden than the heavy side, but it's all there. But yeah, it's definitely, like, dynamic is, I guess, the best word for it. It's just way more there. It sounds way more like the live show. And if anyone's seen us play live, they probably understand the energy that we can put out, and that, I think that really comes across in this. That's the biggest change.
I got a pretty sweet pandemic basement preview, if I do recall. That was a pretty good time when the world was in lockdown.
Yeah.
It's the only show of the summer. Worked every time. I'm curious to.
Yeah, we all had to quarantine after, but.
Yeah, it's worth it, right? It's worth it, totally fine. I'm curious. So I want to try to word this correctly. You have I mean, anytime I've seen you play, even if we're going back to the open mic stuff, when you were still figuring yourself out and finally, and I mean, I fully agree with what you said earlier about that as far as a mixing pot of strange, random, weird talents and giving them an avenue to present and grow what they want to showcase. Not everybody has access to that, right? So it was definitely a blessing, and sweet hell did it give us a reason to throw back a few beers from time to time in only responsible ways. But you've always only that's beatboxing only happens 100% sober. So
we had one beer, put it down,
and then just go up there and nail it. People are like, "Wow, he got beats by Trey up there." No, man, he's just hitting that mic sober. So anytime I've seen you on a stage, honestly seems like your natural habitat. Like, it seems like you have a space that you are operating within that you feel very comfortable with on a stage. Now, I haven't seen that live with you and your band yet, like on a stage and whatnot. And I'm curious how you were able to combine the two, because it seemed to me that you were pretty used to and comfortable presenting your music solo. So it has to be a different presentation, especially in a live environment where you're also aware of other components that you have to present while you're presenting your own stuff. Does that make sense? Like you were so good at presenting your presentation to an audience. Now you're like, I got to bring these people along too. Like, how did that work out? Was it hard for you to find that groove?
It's definitely, I think awkward is the best term for it. I'm still not much of a talker or showman or anything like that. I think the hardest thing for me is like remembering to like introduce ourselves and talk in between things. And like, I was never a fan of bands that just have a full on conversation in between songs. That just kind of ruins the vibe for me. You know, I still love, I remember watching Alex Hill's band, 100 Proof, and like, it was just 80s hardcore, and they would like, the songs were all 1.5 minutes long, and there was zero talking in between. There was zero introduction. There was no like, this song's dedicated to my wife. It was just like, just go into every song, like bang, 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 and then we're done.
Yeah.
You know, and I still love that. And I loved watching that, and I respect the hell out of that. I do want there to be a bit of a, you know, a show, but like not in the, you know, big hair and frills kind of thing. Obviously not big hair, but like, you know, I want it to be more of a memorable like energy in the room, you know. So there's, I don't know, my banter's terrible, so like it's just trying to get to, you know, to remember to like talk about everybody and like, you know, make those introductions quick. And but like, we're all in the same ballpark though. We're all just like, make it short and sweet. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do this next song. Let's do that. You know, remember to talk to people a little bit, but just keep the energy going and keep the songs flowing. And like, we put a lot of time and effort and thought into how the songs are going to flow live. I put just as much effort into that when we do a set anytime as I did putting the record together, of how that's gonna sound. Not that anybody listens to a record that way anymore, but it matters to me because I'm gonna listen to it that way, you know, and maybe two people might. So it's important to me, you know. But yeah, just it's just kind of an awkward transition to remember that those other people are there a little bit, which sounds terrible, but like, obviously they're everyone's making noise and everyone's doing the thing, but like, I think, like I said, I got used to playing by myself for so long that I was already kind of hearing all that stuff in my head already. And people would used to come up to me all the time and be like, dude, I can hear the bass, or like, I can hear the drums. It's like, I just want you to have drums. Because like, I don't know if you remember, but like, when I played acoustic sets, I didn't play normal acoustic sets. It was never like John Denver, like sitting there strumming the way. It was like, I was playing electric guitar stuff on an acoustic guitar, and it was very rhythmic and very, you know, I was trying to do all the bass lines and all this stuff. So I was already kind of like in my own headspace, like you said, hearing all that stuff. And now that it's really actually there, I still get lost in that same headspace of the song, but you know, I maybe I get a little bit more lost, and I kind of come out of it in between, and I'm like, oh yeah, like we're all doing this kind of thing, you know what I mean? And but it's still a great back and forth, and it's by no means a one-man show, you know. It's there's still a great camaraderie there, and like, we all get along really well, and we all kind of read each other really well, and every like, I can't say enough about the talent of the guys in the band and how crazy talented they are. So like, I always feel like super fortunate to even be on the same stage as these guys, or even be friends with them, that like, they want to even be a part of these songs and this stuff, and write with me, because they're all just insanely good. And it's, yeah, you do kind of just get lost into it. I almost become like a fan on stage, listening to other people's parts and stuff like that. And, you know, just like, oh, wait for this part. This is going to be cool. Like, oh yeah, I got to play with that too. You know?
Oh, it's interesting. I've never heard it described quite that way. I mean, it does, honestly, knowing you for a while, I think you've probably summarized it really well. But the idea that in your mind, when you were playing, you had this with you, like, you know, you were presenting one part of it, but in your mind, you were playing with this, like behind you, you had this unit, you had this finished song behind you that you were playing. So it is kind of cool to think that now that you have these other pieces to fully present that to you, it's just like a more complete form of what you were playing to then now, right? Like, you just, I don't know
Oh,
how
yeah.
you get through a friggin' song. I would just be off the whole time. Be in the middle of the song, like, oh man, this drum solo is the shit. Like, I want to see it.
I'd like to say I was like super clever in like coming up with that solo style and all these things or whatever, but it was just a means to an end. It was just like what I had to work with at the time, and it was never the plan to be like, I'm gonna go out solo. It was never. It was like, I want a band. I want to do this as a band, and that was kind of the reason that, like, it was one of the reasons anyways that, like, I kind of got out of Chatham. And nothing against Chatham or anything, and nothing against musicians in Chatham. They're fantastic. There's
That's right. I just felt something personal for a second. It felt a little close to the heart. It's okay.
But I don't know, it felt, and it's different in every generation too, right? But like, I kind of felt like I hit like right after all these great musicians kind of came through. Even that open mic scene, as great as it was with me, it really had like dulled down from what I've been told anyways, from where its heyday was, and all the musicians and all those people. So by the time I really was like introduced to it, all these people had kind of moved on with their projects or their lives or whatever. They stopped doing it, and like, it just felt like, after doing it for a few years, it just kind of felt like a little bit like a dead end for me. Again, it's nothing against the talent in Chatham or the town or anything like that. It's just a small town,
Yeah, it was for you. It was your path, right? Like,
there's only a finite amount of people and finite amount of bands and stuff in that small town, and it just encouraged me to kind of go. And like, Windsor's still a small town too, but like, as any Chathamite would tell you, Windsor's the big city. It seemed like it back in the day. It was like the big step up, Detroit being there and all the history there. And
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I live in a sprawling our crackhead totals can go your crackhead totals any day. So I don't know how we're measuring big cities now, but I think we're a contender.
Per capita, yeah, we're pretty close. But yeah, it's just naivety and age. When I came here, I felt like, I'm coming to the big city. There's gonna be so many more opportunities, so many more people, and maybe I just like put that into play, and just, it definitely didn't happen overnight either. It was years of going out again and kind of doing the same thing again with open mics and stuff, and then meeting people, and it just like happened to happen or whatever. And then but I don't regret any of it, though. I don't look back and think of what I might have done there. I think I would have still done some cool stuff, but like, just seeing the flow of how things have worked out now, and like the people I've met, and getting a different viewpoint on a lot of stuff too, it's just, I love it. It's cool to be a part of. Now the small town for me, this is just my new small town, but I'll always have a good connection to Chatham for sure. But
wow, I mean, if you'd stayed here, obviously our trip hop jazz fusion record would have been the likes of which the world had never seen, right? Clearly,
if we ever got into that second beer. And,
I'm just saying, you have been a part of a couple of fantastic evenings, and might have had the greatest idea of all time when you suggested we take the cab from Tim Hortons instead of waiting on that corner. Yeah, that was, listen, you can write any song from now till the end of time. Your moment of genius, true unadulterated genius, was looking over a scene and going, I bet if we walk just right over that Tim Hortons and they call us a cab, they'll come. Everybody's still waiting right across there. What's that?
That small town problems there. Like, we got to walk to the Tim's, we'll get a cab.
Yeah. Whatever. I didn't know you were going to come at me with your big city solutions. Whatever. So listen,
I'm real fancy now.
Oh, 100%. Nothing but class when we were crushing those eclairs. So we're gonna talk just to kind of bring it all back around here before we move into showcasing the new single, Ontario Mourning, which is amazing. People, check it out. You're going to see a link in the information. You'll see some info on screen here to find it. You talk a little bit about the people in town that inspired you, and I always find it interesting because I've done a few of these now, and I'm going to get a few more in this year, hopefully a little bit more routine. And I talk to people that others in the area carry in very high esteem as those people, you know, and I think yourself would be one of those people. When your name comes up, people in this area, in Windsor too, speak very highly of you, the artist, the performer, the creator. And I've known you long enough to know that not that you don't have confidence and a belief in what you do, but you almost purposefully don't look at yourself that way. Like, I remember one particular moment, there was a young kid playing some music, and you were just crushing it, doing some stuff. And you were so much more interested to see what the kid could do, what that kid could bang out, because you hadn't seen it before. So you were like, well, yeah, I can do that anytime. Like, I want to be entertained by what this new person is doing over here that I haven't seen before. You know, meanwhile, other people there were probably like, what the hell, bro? You were just crushing it. Like, we want to hear more of that. You were like already over it. You wanted to appreciate this other art that's happening over here. So is it something that you're kind of aware of, that you have gotten to a level where people do think of you, the creator and the performer, the artist, a certain level? Or do you just kind of like, nah, I don't care. I'm just gonna, if I like this, I like this. You can listen to whatever. It doesn't faze me.
Yeah, again, I think it all just stems from severe awkwardness too, and you know, there was definitely a point, and probably longer than it needed to be, where I didn't have any confidence in what I was doing or myself at all, and you know, that led to some pretty cool, you know, inspiration for writing and stuff like that, and but also a lot of negative feelings and shit, and animosity towards myself and other people and stuff too, which is just terrible. I mean, it's normal. It happens to everybody in different, you know, varying levels, but I definitely felt it pretty hard for a long time. And so like a lot of that was just naturally being awkward and not feeling good about myself, or no matter what I was doing or how, you know, happy I was with a song or accomplished with it. It was like a real fleeting, like, you know, quick moment of like, you know, even if the crowd's like, oh, like going crazy or whatever they're doing, or, you know, people are clapping or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, but, you know, like there's always that like caveat of whatever I was thinking in my head, you know. And now I definitely have more confidence in just in general and in life and everything as I move on, and like, and with music too, as you get those like more and more positive reactions, like you say. And, you know, I don't really, I mean, I listen to it when I hear it from people, for sure. And I'm very like, I'm very grateful for it when people do say nice things, for sure. But like, it's just kind of it's kind of more or less now just become a shtick to just, like, I'm by no means full of myself whatsoever, and like people know that. And I think we that's the shtick we play with live too, is that like, you know, we often apologize to people for playing, and like, you know, but it's you know, it's our shitty sense of humor, but just being, you know, like it's kind of tongue in cheek at this point, where we're confident enough, like, yeah, I think this is going to be good, you know, but like, we don't come across that way. We don't come out and be like, are you ready to rock? We, you know, we come out like, sorry guys, like, well, you know, we'll make this short and sweet, and then, you know, try and blow them away.
We're going to get you back to your top 40 immediately. All right, last question. First of all, contrary to your suggestion at the beginning, sir, you have brought well over 40 minutes of entertainment, I think, maybe in that area. So way above your 6-minute expectation. Two,
so if you can cut that right down.
I'll just have like 3 clips, and one of them will be like, we apologize for our music. But before we throw to this track, this new single,
yeah.
I guess I have two things. Right quick, when is this album coming out? This new album? Because I heard bits and pieces of it a while ago. I got super excited, and I mean, I was only like 4.5 beers in, so that was genuine excitement. Like, you know, I wasn't even faking. And it only grew. It only grew, and it was a really good experience. Just talking about where some of the songs came from and some of the energies involved. It was awesome, and I was like, man, this album is really going to rock some people. And I'm here waiting for it. So like, when's this thing coming?
It's I've been saying this for a while, but things obviously get put off due to, you know, what's been happening, and then just life in general too. There's been a lot of, you know, sideways moments that have just like, you know, we've been totally unpredictable. We all have day jobs. We all have other projects we're in. We all have other things we're doing. So like, not to put this thing down at all, it's just like we want to do it proper, and we don't want to just like, you know, shit it out to the world. We want, you know, and every time it's kind of leading to that point, then something kind of extends it a little bit. But yeah, I think it's at the perfect point now where we're damn close. Everything's basically away for mastering right now, which is basically the final step in everything. And I don't know what we're gonna do with actual, you know, pressing or production yet. You might just see a digital release at some point this year, and then a pressing at some point when we can. But it's gonna be this year for sure. I'm assuming probably the summer, but I don't want to put a date on it and put my foot in my mouth. But there's, you know, we've got a few singles out right now that are all kind of pre-masters of everything, and like Ontario Mourning and I've Been Struck and I Can't Be Your Shoulder to Cry On. They've all been kind of out in the ether for a little bit, you know. Ontario Mourning being the newest and latest and greatest, I guess, and the title track to the record. But we're super proud of everything, and like we just want to make sure everything is as perfect as it's going to be, and I think we're right at that point now. I'd say within the next few months we'll have a digital release.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for that. Yeah. So if you were going to tee up this song, because we're going to talk about it here, how would you set people up for Ontario Mourning?
This is my I mean, this is my hip song if there ever was a hip song, but a bit heavier on the heavy side of things, and it's influenced by all my favorite like mid-90s hip songs, and a ton of Canadiana, and like just the whole song is just references to traveling like through Canada, and it's a tribute to Gord. It's Gord Downey. It's a tribute to other people that I've lost over the last few years, which is like kind of a running theme with the record. But again, in a positive way, you know, kind of the record's kind of about moving on from that stuff, right, and moving forward, but carrying, you know, the memory or the light of those people with you as you go, you know. And it definitely didn't start off with that theme, but that's just kind of been the theme of life in the last 5 years, you know, and that's just where it's come to. And that's the running theme of this song and the running theme of most of the record, and that's why it's the title track. And yeah, hopefully people can rock the fuck out to it, I guess. And but hopefully I think they'll definitely pick up on the hip vibes too when they listen to it. If you listen close enough, you'll hear it for sure.
Well, thank you for coming on the little tiny music channel that could or can't, depending on your perspective.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get you on here again. We talked about maybe getting you on here with the band.
Definitely.
And I cannot wait for this album to drop. Oh, you know what? Yeah, just popped in my head. You said there might maybe be a show possibly that people might be able to see you in person in a pandemic-ish list type world. Is it a thing? Can we talk about it?
I believe so. Yeah. It's we're supposed to be playing with the Stay at Home Dads.
Solid
on
name.
April. Yeah, they're great. They are phenomenal. Actually, we played with them late last year for Foggish Fest in Windsor here, and they blew everybody away. So we'll be playing with them. I'm not sure what the other band is yet. There'll be three bands up there at Villains on April 30th in Windsor. So
All right. That's
yeah.
awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of love here for Colin Luby, aka Mr. Serious Festival, coming up hopefully April 30th, live and in your face, and apologizing for his music, like this track, Ontario Mourning. Enjoy.
Our birds on fire. Oh, money can't put you out. Your heart's in Montreal. The separatists are leaving. Can't go on grieving, and now your words have lost all meaning. Your head's in Moncton, but the power's out, and you can stand under the lights of the Yukon we forgot. But the Russians will be here soon. Dinner's on, it's a sound balloon that brings me back to Ontario in the morning. It's just so selfish, the feeling we're feeling. We lost a part of us. Nostalgia in the land of rust. Color dirt and war monuments. We drove coast to coast just to figure it out. And all along the only road, the rain, wind, and cover of night, just to get back to Ontario in the morning. I just can't shake it. Sometimes I think I might spend the rest of my life surrounded by waters not safe for drinking. Even the hell can't bring us together. Tragedy will hold us forever. Even the hell can't bring us together. But tragedy will hold us forever. Even the hell can't bring us together. Tragedy will hold us forever. Even the hell can't bring us together. Tragedy will hold us forever. Rivers deep and dirty, and it's happy to say Sackville's the great escape.